Hello and welcome to another series where I check out the Japanese supermarket and do my groceries. Today I'm actually going to be cooking 3 to 4 dishes that are heavily Japanese influenced or just Japanese. So join me as I go shopping and cook for myself. And it's autumn at the moment, or almost autumn, so a lot of it will be kind of like warm, cozy food as well as like seasonal. When you enter a Japanese supermarket, one of the first areas is the fresh veggies and produce section. So I usually grab all of my vegetables and fruit, but of course, because this was a nice supermarket, everything was quite pricey. I even saw these fancy mushrooms, which were about 3,000 yen. Pretty crazy, and they weren't even from Japan, they're from America. But I do enjoy looking around even if I don't buy anything. Okay, so I was gonna buy some veggies here, but they're way too expensive. I know this is a popular and super expensive supermarket, but I'm like, I can't justify the prices. They're almost 3 times the cost. So I think I'm gonna buy some stuff here and then head over to another supermarket. This time I'm going to be using a lot of miso in my cooking, and whenever I come to the supermarket I never know which one to get. There are so many different types, but I have one that I like and I'm sticking with it. But coming to this fancy supermarket I'm like, oh, there's actually lots of different types out there. Like this whole shelf behind me is miso, and there's like craft miso. Let me know if you have miso paste recommendations down below. One of my favorite snacks here is aji nori, and since I'm doing a lot of Japanese stuff I thought I'd include this as my snack, and it can be part of my breakfast. And this is essentially flavored seaweed, and this is a premium one. This is actually not that cheap, even with the low budget one, but I'm gonna try this. Sometimes it does make a difference, so popping it in. 650 yen. Wait, now I've found another one. I'm like, which one do I do? They're both fancy. So this is me just spending hours at the supermarket being like, which one should I get? On to the next section, which is dashi, and this is one of my least favorite things to shop for because I never know what I'm looking for and I don't want something too fishy, but I know it's important in Japanese flavors and umami, so watch me struggle. So one thing I struggle with in Japan is I'm not a big fan of fish, but I can take tsuyu, which is basically dashi, but with sweetened flavoring like mirin added to it, I believe. And for a lot of the recipes, I'm going to be using tsuyu. And you're gonna have to get used to tsuyu if you live in Japan because it's in everything. And there's different types. Oh my goodness, this is one of the most overwhelming sections because all of this is like tsuyu and shoyu and different kinds of things going on. So I'm going to pick one out. I'm going to pick a nice one because I feel like I'm at a fancy place. I'm going to try and level up my cooking game. But there are so many, like, look at all of them. Tsuyu. I ended up looking at these little mini ones because I think I bought them before, but I ended up going with a really basic one just to be safe. But I did pick up this dark soy sauce from the series as well as a bottle of mirin before heading to the next section. So the Chinese section is always quite big at Japanese supermarkets because they love their Chinese food, and I'm actually going to pick up another type of dark soy sauce which I spotted here because I've literally never seen this before, and so many recipes I want to make have dark soy sauce. So coming in the future, this is about 250 yen. The other one was about 300 yen, so I can compare. Another thing you'll see are these dry noodles, and I prefer to go for the soft, fresh ones, even if they're frozen, because I think they taste so much better. But yeah, dry udon and dry soba noodles are a big thing. I slowly made my way around to the alcohol section, and I love these mini cans, which I've never bought before, but today is the day. I'm gonna have a little tiny one. So cute. And then I was also tempted by this design to try this like local beer, so got one of them, and it's just so fun seeing all the creative designs they have. Honestly, I pick the beer sometimes just based on how cool the packaging is. Okay, so they have the cutest Halloween arrangement set up right now with all kinds of stuff like Snoopy, Disney, and all these other characters. It's so cute. Wait a second, they have Disney Halloween pasta. That is so cute. I low-key want to get this. I'm gonna get this. So I found this thing called rice balls, and it's in pumpkin and chicken flavor. Like, what is inside here? Like rice puffs, I think, but that is such a weird flavor. They have speculatius? Get out of here. Halloween speculatius. All my Germans out there must be confused. Is this from Germany? Where is this imported from? Belgium. Okay, that makes sense. Oh my god, they have licorice as well. Licorice from Trolley. What? Of course they had pumpkins for sale as well, but I ended up going with something fun, these manju, which were pumpkin Halloween jack-o'-lantern themed, before heading over to the meat section, which I didn't showcase in my previous video, so this is for everyone who's wondering. They have very nice slices of marbled meat, and honestly it's not that expensive when you think about it. I did, however, pick up some mochi, which is the best thing in Japan, and you can make it at home if you just toast it, so do recommend trying it. Very cheap. Something I always buy is tofu. I do love my tofu as a source of protein. I usually pick up two types, the abura-age, atsage, as well as firm tofu. And today, because I'm cooking some udon, I grabbed some fresh stuff. I've never seen such a wide variety of eggs, and they even had some in these really cool packages with nets as well as sakura tamago, but of course I just went with some regular ones. I've also noticed the more expensive the eggs, the easier they are to peel. Is that just a coincidence? It must not be. If you've lived in Japan, you'll know that they're super big on their drip coffee or black coffee, and that wasn't something I consumed at all, but recently I have been having it every morning and even when I go to the convenience store. So I'm trying a different type of black coffee here at the supermarket. I bought one from this brand called Ogawa Kohi, and I bought it because the packaging was cute. It was like autumn leaf themed, but the flavor wasn't my favorite. So I'm gonna try Sareta Hiko coffee, and I know it's expensive, but I want to just see if I like it. Because this is me trying to get into black coffee instead of lattes all the time, so we'll see. A little pricey, like $1 per pack. I got, and it was relatively so-so priced, about 6,000 yen. And I did hit up my next grocery store to grab some veggies. I got some cucumber, not that cheap actually, but it's, you know, it is what it is. I got some long negi as well as paprika and a few other small things, because each supermarket stocks different things. It's really hard to find everything in one place in Japan, but I was impressed that the range of bentos they had at this little supermarket, like even naan bread, Thai food, it was pretty impressive, honestly. This is everything I bought, and I actually ended up going to 3 supermarkets. The first one was Isetan, which is a little expensive, like Queen's Isetan, and I just happened to be in the area, so I thought I'd pick up a bunch of stuff from there. So because of that, the vegetables were a little out of my normal price range, so I went to a place that was located nearby and picked up some extra stuff, but they didn't have everything, so tomorrow I will go to one more supermarket. But for everything here, I think I spent like 7,000 yen, which I think it depends like what you are cooking, but I didn't have a few like sauces, so I had to add in those costs, which if you don't buy them, everything was reduced probably by like 2,000 to 3,000 yen, because this is 400 yen, this is 400 yen, this is also like 300 yen. Yeah, so it's not just for like one day's worth. That would be a little excessive. So for dinner, I'm having Miso Nikomi Udon, which is actually a dish that is from Nagoya, I think, and it's perfect for winter or a chilly day. And this is my first time making it. I have had it at restaurants a couple of times, not even that often, so who knows how this will turn out. But the fun thing about this dish is that I prepared this, which is a clay pot. So I'm going all out. This is gonna be good for nabe too later in the year. And to cook this, you actually, you need to have like one of these, which is kind of like a flame, an open flame, because in Japan, there's not really gas. It's like IHC usually. So going all out, but to make this dish, you need a few things. I have some capsicums, which weren't in the recipe, but I thought I'd chuck them in. 2 types of tofu, very firm tofu, as well as atsage, as well as premium udon, some eggs. I thought it would be fun to add some mochi. I don't know if this will actually go with it, but I love mochi. I have my miso, which I only bought recently, but it is so awesome, and this is going to be a core ingredient, as well as some sauce, soy sauce and mirin, new mentsuyu. And that's everything, hopefully. I did forget the mushrooms, but oh well. For this recipe, I'm actually referencing just one cookbook. I love all of the stuff on there. Super great, all in English, so check it out. And the first step is, let me check. Miso Nikomi. Apparently this needs to be sliced diagonally. I've never sliced negi diagonally. I gotta do this thinner. Oh no. This is not my specialty. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, there's a lot of Japanese food which is like sliced diagonally. And I'm gonna randomly add a piman, which is such a fun Japanese word, piman. Next, I'm going to slice the tofu, the abaraage, as well as thick tofu. Nice big blocks. Once again, I'm only going to be using half of this tofu because there's probably gonna be too much already. My protein. Chopping is done. So I am going to celebrate with a mini Asahi beer can. Like, isn't this the cutest thing? It was like 100 yen, which I know the value isn't there, but drink less this way. So, woo, kanpai. Ah, oishi. I wonder who was this made for? Because obviously it's not children. Just people like me who are like, ooh, that's cute. Okay, next step is making the broth. So I need to get my whole cooking station ready. To make the broth, we're going to add in some tsuyu, which was my men tsuyu, and then we're going to add in the negi that we've sliced diagonally very nicely, and then add in some water, chuck in some mirin, and I'm doing this just eyeballing it, so you can just taste it as you go. If it's not sweet enough, add more of the mirin. Then I popped in the miso paste. Miso is one of those really popular things, but I only recently started cooking with it, so I'm understanding how amazing of umami, the flavor that it holds. Oh my goodness. Once you bring it to a boil a bit, add in your tofu and let that simmer so we can absorb all the flavor of the broth. So this is something you'd call nama udon, which means like really fresh. It's kind of like pasta as well. They sell nama pasta and it tastes really different because it's still got the flour on it and it's not like dried out. So I'm gonna add it in. Apparently you're meant to do the udon in a separate hot, like boil them separately, but because I'm not using frozen ones, I'm just gonna add them in. If that's wrong, I will find out. I still have some remaining so I can fix my mistakes later, but I feel like udon cooks really fast, so hopefully it's fine. Put the lid on and let it cook for a while, and then you're pretty much ready to eat. It smells heavenly. I am so excited. And check it out, my Kirby bowl. And after you finish eating, I think it says manpuku, which is full. I'm gonna be full. We're gonna get some of the broth. On top of the dish, you'll add the yolk of the egg. Woo. And yes, it's raw. Itadakimasu. Oh my gosh, that's really yummy. I love the smell of atsage. It absorbed all the miso flavor. The moment of truth, trying the udon noodles. Was it worth the extra 100 yen? Also, I think the udon noodles could cook a bit longer. Maybe it's because I needed to boil them separately, but they're still soft, but I think they could cook a little longer. Adding the mochi, such a good idea. I'm so smart. I think the thing that surprised me most about this dish is how simple it is to prepare. You really only need to do a little bit of prep work, like chopping, and the rest is just chucking it into the donabe, which is crazy how easy that is. So I might incorporate this into my like weekly routine. Maybe not exactly this one, but similar type of nabe dishes. And it's not that expensive, I think, because this will last me like 1 or 2 meals. Tomorrow, I'm gonna have a big morning because I'm gonna make a Japanese breakfast. So I'll get some sleep soon and see you then. Good morning. For my breakfast today, I'm actually going to be making a very Japanese inspired meal, which is dashimaki tamago, as well as onigiri. And I'm gonna have some of the seaweed I bought and this mochi. Da-da-da. And this is actually what I used to have when I studied abroad in Chiba when I was like 17, my first time here. I just have like this mochi for breakfast with seaweed wrapped on it and like some soy sauce. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited because I just bought the cutest Japanese teapot. Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. And so I'm going to make some hojicha, which I bought like a few months ago, but then I didn't have a teapot. So I was like, I need a teapot. And yeah, that's my brekkie. Let's get started with the rice. With half a decade of experience living in Japan, my rice making skills are top tier. My pro tip is don't fill up the rice with the water all the way to the point, put a little bit less water and then you'll get that perfect consistency. Now onto making the dashimaki tamago. We're going to use 3 eggs today, crack them in your bowl, whisk it really nicely, and then we're going to add some flavoring, which is going to be mensuyu. See, using all the same flavors as last night, mirin, as well as shoyu, which is soy sauce. And I probably added a bit too much shoyu because it discolored it a bit, but as you're whisking it together, yes, I know you should use a fork, I just didn't, you can taste it as you go. Of course, because it's raw egg in Japan, it should be fine. I know Japanese people do this. Anyhow, we're gonna put a really thin layer in the fry pan, and then once it kind of like firms up or like cooks, you're gonna kind of roll it over. But the trick when rolling it over is you gotta get the next round of the egg to go underneath it. And this is quite challenging, but we're gonna repeat this process about 3 to 4 times until you have a really thick omelette. Okay, my rice is ready, and the great thing about Japanese rice cookers is that there's like a couple of settings that you can use, and one of them is like hayataki, which means it cooks it extra fast. So, and there's like the full version, which is about 50 minutes versus 35. And I don't actually make onigiri that often, but I have done it quite a few times. So here's my rice, and what you do is you add in a bit of salt, because I'm just gonna have shio onigiri, which is literally translated as salt onigiri. Because it's so hot, I'm not gonna put it in my hands. I'm just gonna put it directly into this like Glad wrap plastic. Put it in here and do it like this. There's a technique to it. And I'm not terrible, but I'm definitely far from the best. But it's very fun doing it. I love it. Like therapeutic. And I actually prefer to have them like smaller. I don't like giant size onigiri. Like mini one. Da-da-da. And I need a taste tester. I forgot to taste test it. Let's see if there's enough salt. Actually pretty good, well salted. I made a couple more onigiri and then it was time to get my mochi ready. This is super easy, doesn't require much effort. You just take it out of the packaging, put it inside the toaster and wait. In the meantime, I'm going to also prepare my hojicha roasted green tea with these fresh leaves and just let it brew for quite a while actually, this one. I finally got everything prepared. That's the thing about Japanese breakfast. It is so complicated. It's not just throw the milk in the cereal bowl. You gotta do everything. So 1 hour later, here we are. I'm still brewing my hojicha tea, but I am going to introduce everything I've got. So I have the dashimaki tamago, which I think I put too much soy sauce, so it's not as bright yellow as ideally it would be, because it looks really aesthetic. But I think I did it reasonably well considering I didn't have the fry pan, like ignore the color. And then I also have my little onigiri bowl, and I have mochi, which I just put in the toaster for a second. And because it's been a couple of minutes now, it's probably a little hard. You gotta eat it. There's like a small window where it tastes really good. But yeah, I'm gonna start by putting some ajinori, so flavored seaweed, with my onigiri. So cute. It was really good. I picked some good nori. Yum. And then the mochi. You meant to get soy sauce, but I just sat down and I forgot to bring it, so I'm gonna have it without. Not bad. I'm gonna have some seaweed with it as well. In terms of budget, Japanese breakfast, pretty cheap to make because nothing here costs much in the supermarkets. But it's just like a big time commitment, so it's a one-off thing. But for lunch, I'm also doing another Japanese dish, so stay tuned. For lunch, I'm going to try out a new recipe, which is a miso glazed salmon bake. And I am not the biggest fan of seafood, but this year I've actually challenged myself to start eating salmon more because it's super healthy. It is a superfood, I think. So many nutrients. Up until now, I've always done like Western flavors, but this is very Japanese with miso, sake, and mirin. There's supposed to be sugar as well, but I thought I'm not gonna make it too sweet. I'm actually on my way to the gym, so I'm gonna quickly make a marinade, let it sit in the fridge, and then bake it when I get home. So let's go. Also, I am eyeballing these measurements. So first start by putting in a few spoonfuls of sake, adding in some mirin, and then we're gonna add in the miso paste. Once again, same flavors for this base flavor, and we're gonna whisk it yeah, probably don't use the same container I did. It wasn't very easy to whisk. And we're gonna add in our fresh salmon. This is some autumn salmon in Japan because it's autumn here. And you're gonna leave it inside, make sure it's covered nicely, and wait. Once you're done, you're going to put it on a tray for the oven and then pour over the miso sauce, pop it in, and it should cook within like 7 to 15 minutes. And while I was waiting, I actually started craving a miso soup, so I made one. And if you haven't watched my previous cooking video, I did introduce the recipe there, so check it out. I'm not sure if I did the salmon right. Like in the picture I looked at for my reference, it was a lot more cooked and it had like a darker color to it, so I'm unsure, but I already had a taste of the miso soup and I added a new ingredient. It's called komatsuna and it made the flavor so amazing. I'm in love with this miso soup. It's the best I've ever made. I'm still not sure if I like this. Maybe it's like I gotta take some time to get used to it, but I'm not against it. But the fact that I'm here eating this and making it, big personal growth and progress. Wow, character development. Also had a leftover onigiri for my breakfast. Is there anything that you've done like me where you didn't like seafood but you've tried to like it and then you got to the point of enjoying it? Let me know, because I'm really curious. I don't think I'll ever like love seafood, but I can definitely slowly eat a little bit more. That was my grocery haul and cooking. What did you think? Let me know down below if there's a recipe you want me to try. Please subscribe and like for future content. It really helps support me, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye!